So as promised in this morning's video, what I'm going to be showing you this afternoon is a bit more of an advanced way to hold your yarn if you're interested. So what I showed you this morning, or in the earlier video, is when you hold your yarn in that introductory video to knitting, the way I showed it is each time I put my knitting needle in and I want to wrap my yarn, I let go of that right knitting needle. So I let go of it, wrap the yarn around, then pick it back up. Then when I go into work the next stitch, I let go of it, wrap my yarn around, pick it back up. So that is one way to knit. Another way to knit, and there are a lot of different variations of how people wrap the yarn around their fingers. I'm just going to be showing you the way that works for me. So I wrap the yarn around my right hand, and the way I do it is I wrap it around my pinky finger and my ring finger. Just like that. So let me show you it in slow motion here. So the way I wrap my yarn is I wrap my yarn around my pinky finger and my ring finger of my right hand. So when I wrap my yarn, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put those two fingers behind my working yarn, or the yarn attached to my ball, and I do it pretty close to my knitting needle, so there's only an inch or two gap in between there. Now I'm going to take those two fingers, bring them towards myself, then under the strand of yarn. So now you can see there's kind of like they're fully wrapped in the yarn. And now to actually have control over the yarn, I'm going to take my pointer finger and I'm going to put my pointer finger below the strand. And I flip my hand over the other way. So it's basically like it's wrapped around my two fingers there at the end, and then my pointer finger is underneath it. Now when I grab onto my right knitting needle, my hand looks like this. So it's still wrapped around those bottom two. Those two are kind of loosely holding onto the knitting needle. And my pointer finger is pointed up, or it's kind of like parallel to the ceiling. It's pointing away from me. And now when I knit, I'm gonna go into the next stitch, then take my pointer finger, wrap the strand of yarn around, pull the loop through, slide the stitch off. Then when I go into the next stitch, wrap the yarn around, pull it through, slide the stitch off. So you can see I never have to let go of that right knitting needle with my right hand. Now I don't have the yarn wrapped tight anywhere, so you can see it's pretty loose over here. And if I ever need to make it looser, I can just kind of spread out my two fingers over there and it adds more yarn to the loop. So I'm just going up around with that pointer finger, each stitch. So to show one more time how I wrap my yarn, right palm up towards the ceiling, I'm gonna wrap around just these back two fingers, or my pinky and my ring, put those two below the strand of yarn, pretty close to the knitting needle. Then I'm gonna take them towards myself, underneath the strand of yarn. So now they're fully wrapped around there. Now I'm gonna take my pointer finger, kind of like rotate my hand over here. So my pointer finger is going over towards the left, put it underneath the strand. So it's like pushing up towards the ceiling on that strand of yarn. Grab onto my knitting needle with every finger but my pointer finger. And now, when I knit, the yarn just kind of glides along my right hand. It keeps a nice tension. And I can just knit all the way across a row. When I get to the end of a row, I do drop my yarn, and then I'll rewrap it around my fingers. So I'm gonna drop it, turn my knitting needle, grab my new empty knitting needle. Before I actually start knitting with it, I'm gonna wrap my yarn, get my tail out of the way. So underneath with my two fingers, wrap it around, pointer finger under the strand, Put the knitting needle into the first stitch and then begin knitting. And that is how I hold my yarn while knitting.